There's a folder on your Mac that Apple hides from you. And inside that folder are apps that Apple makes but never promotes, including a password manager they actively warn you against using. These are the Mac apps Apple hid from you. All links will be in the description. This video is sponsored by the like button. Click it below to find out more. Before we get in, here's how we find that folder. So you're going to open up Finder and you're going to hit Command, Shift and G to bring up the Go To Folder prompt and then paste this in. And I'll leave this in the video description underneath the subscribe button. And once you put that in, you press return. And you'll land in a folder full of apps that don't show up anywhere else on your Mac. They're missing from the applications folder, and unless you know the exact name to search for, Spotlight Search likely won't find them either. So they're just there, waiting for anyone who knows where to look. So let's go through 10 of them. First up is Feedback Assistant, and this is the official Apple bug reporting tool. And it's the app every developer and beta tester uses to send issues straight to Apple. So if you've ever installed a beta version of macOS, this app is what's quietly collecting crash logs and system diagnostics in the background whenever something breaks. So you can open it up and you can create a new report, attach a sysdiagnose, drop in screenshots and send the whole thing directly to Apple's engineering teams. And with WWDC just around the corner and a new round of betas about to land, this is the app you'll want to know exists if you find yourself running a beta version of macOS and things start falling over. The second app is Keychain Access, and this one I find genuinely fascinating because Apple is actively trying to make you forget that it exists. See, for over 2 decades, this app is where every password on your Mac lived, whether that was Wi-Fi credentials, website logins, encryption certificates, etc. Then, in 2024, Apple launched the new Passwords app with macOS Sequoia and started funneling everyone towards that instead. But Keychain Access is still here, and it still does things that the new Passwords app can't. Like it still holds network credentials and certificates that the new app simply doesn't show. The giveaway is that what happens when you try and open it. macOS now pops up with a prompt asking if you meant to open up the Passwords app instead, which is where most people want to be. Third on the list is Archive Utility, and this app has handled every zip file you've ever opened on a Mac. See, when you double click a zip, Archive Utility runs in the background and the files get extracted, and then the app disappears. So most people don't even realize it's a separate piece of software. But if you launch it directly from the hidden folder, it actually has configurable settings. Like you can change the default archive format, or you can tell it where extracted files should go. And there's even an option to delete the original zip file after extraction, which is really useful if you deal with a lot of compressed files on the regular. Fourth is DVD player. The last MacBook Pro to ship with a built-in optical drive was the mid-2012 13-inch MacBook Pro. And yet, DVD player still ships with macOS in 2026. You can launch it, and it will be waiting patiently for a DVD that you have no way of physically inserting into a modern Mac unless you go buy a separate USB drive. Apple has just never removed the app. All digital versions of DVDs will launch by default with QuickTime Player, so this app is just hanging around doing nothing. The fifth app is Directory Utility, and this one is here for a very specific job. See, if you work, or likely used to work somewhere with a proper IT department, your Mac may have been bound to an Active Directory or Open Directory server. Directory Utility is the app that configures the connection to said server. Now, I speak in the past tense, as many modern organizations have likely moved on from Active Directory management, but it's what your work would have used to essentially control and audit your laptop. Apple have recently launched a revamped Apple Business Manager, which helps facilitate a modern way to manage a fleet of Macs. So if an organization hasn't already moved away from Active Directory, they likely will be soon. Sixth is the Folder Action Setup app. And this is one I think is the most useful app in this folder. It lets you tell macOS to run a script automatically whenever a file lands in a specific folder. So for example, you could set up a folder that compresses any image dropped inside it. or one that renames every file added to it. There's a popular paid Mac app called Hazel that does exactly this, but it charges you for it, while Apple has shipped a free version with macOS for years, and almost nobody knows. The catch, however, is that the included scripts are Apple script base, which is an older automation language that Apple has quietly been winding down. But it does still work, and once you set up a couple of folders, you can basically forget about them and they'll keep working. The 7th app in our list is Desk View. And if you've used Apple's continuity camera to turn your iPhone into a webcam for video calls, you might have been using this in passing. So it uses your iPhone's ultra-wide lens to give you a top-down view of your desk, so you can show someone what you're working on without actually having to connect or set up a second camera. And the interesting thing is that Desk View is a standalone app, and most people have only ever encountered Desk View as a tick box inside Zoom or FaceTime. But you can launch it on its own from this hidden folder, and you can use it without being on a video call at all. It's really handy if you're recording a tutorial or just want to demo something on your desk without running a full video conferencing setup in the background. This may be a niche content creator concept, but it's cool nonetheless. 8th on the list is wireless diagnostics. So if your Wi-Fi has ever dropped out for no obvious reason and you spent 20 minutes restarting your router, this is the app you probably should have been using instead. See, it monitors your connection, looks for problems, and generates a report that tells you what's actually going wrong. Now, the output gets pretty technical very quickly, but a basic scan is pretty straightforward, and even just running it tells you things like which channel your router is broadcasting on, or whether anything nearby is interfering with it. I think the fact this app is buried in the hidden folder doesn't do it justice, because it can be a great aid when wireless troubleshooting, and it's one even Apple support would guide you through using if you ever needed their help. 9th on our list is Expansion Slot Utility. It manages PCIe expansion cards on the Mac Pro. That's the desktop tower that Apple have recently just discontinued. And just as an aside, if you're interested in that story and why pros are not happy with Apple's decision, I suggest checking out my dedicated video on that subject. There'll be a pop-up on the screen somewhere. Now, if you're watching this on a MacBook Pro, an iMac, a Mac Mini, or a Mac Studio, this app does absolutely nothing for you. It cannot do anything. There are no PCIe slots in your machine for it to manage. And yet Apple ships this app with every new Mac, for now. There will become a time when the M2 Mac Pro becomes a legacy machine, and then maybe Apple will remove this app from macOS. The last app on our list is Ticket Viewer, which in my opinion has the best icon in the entire folder, and its purpose is the same niche use case as Directory Utility. Its job is to manage Kerberos tickets. Now, for most people who don't know, Kerberos is an authentication protocol used by big organizations to let staff sign in once and then access internal systems for the rest of the day without having to type their password in again and again. So if, again, you've ever worked somewhere with a proper IT department and noticed that your email, your calendar, and maybe a shared drive all just work after you log into your Mac, Kerberos is probably what's making that happen. And Ticket Viewer is the app that lets you see those tickets, renew them or destroy them. And for most people watching this, the answer to whether you need Ticket Viewer is no, but it's a perfect example of the kind of thing Apple ships with every Mac, just in case any one person in your work IT department happens to need it. So that's my 10 Apple-made apps you certainly almost never opened. But the folder I showed you actually has some other apps in it. So go ahead, open it up and poke around for yourself. You might find some genuinely useful apps and others that exist for reasons that don't apply to you, but now you know about them. And if you like this video, then check out the one I made on the internal Apple iPhone apps that you can download from the App Store. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.